Hello, you're watching World Talks on TVP World. My name is Sasha Farbach. Steve Witkoff, the U.S. Special Envoy, is in Berlin this weekend for high-stakes talks aimed at ending the war in Ukraine, as Russian missiles and drones plunge more than 1 million Ukrainian households into darkness and knock the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant off external power yet again. Now, with Washington stepping up pressure on Kyiv, European leaders warning against appeasement, and the battlefield escalating rather than cooling, much remains uncertain. Joining us now to discuss and analyze the latest is Milan Lelich, political observer at RBC-Ukraine news agency. Good to have you back on TVP World. Good to see you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me again.
Milan, let's look at what's happening. I mean, we have these high-level talks set to take place this weekend today. Steve Witkoff is in Berlin. But we have Russia launching all of these strikes. We're looking at 450 drones, 30 missiles, maybe even more. How do we interpret that signal from Russia? I mean, is this, obviously this is not coincidence. How do we interpret Moscow's actions on the eve of these talks happening?
Well, basically, Russia is doing nothing out of the ordinary. This is just a usual, if I can name it so, a usual pace of their attacks, a usual intensity. Whereas here in Ukraine, many people prepare that something way bigger may happen perhaps next night or after that for a couple of reasons. First is that now we have snow. It's snowing just behind my window, and this is for the first time we have snow in Kyiv, real snow, and the temperature is below minus, which means that our energy system needs more and more capacity to function, and Russians also know that. And the second is just what you've said, the meetings in Berlin, the high-stakes, high-level meetings in Berlin, and this is this is absolutely usual Russian way of handling any Russian approach to any meetings. On the eve of them or in the middle of these meetings, they usually want to, as they call it, strengthen their position, which means that, yeah, we prepare for another really way heavier attack here. We'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm. And about saying what happens, I mean, we're still, let's say, scant on the details, but what are your expectations from this talk? I mean, it is taking place in the German capital. The German chancellor will be there. We're hearing Keir Starmer from the UK. French president will be there. Zelensky as well. So, I mean, if we look at the optics, this is a big meeting. But is this about really ending the war? Is it about managing the war? What are your expectations from this meeting as it goes ahead?
Well, this is really very difficult, to follow what's going on unless you really follow all the events connected with the negotiation process 24/7, because a lot is going on, a lot of calls, meetings, some papers, some draft documents are discussed, sent to each other. As of now, we are on the stage when Ukrainians, together with Europeans, have scrutinized the draft prepared by the Americans and also already amended by Ukrainians. And now we have sent our common, European and Ukrainian amendments to the US side. Probably the Americans have analyzed these amendments, and now Steve Witkoff will bring any answer to these amendments with him to Berlin to discuss these amendments. Probably this is what will happen in Berlin over the couple of days. We also lack details, some specifics, but also there were some reports, some indications that Americans are more or less satisfied because our President Zelensky has made quite a step and quite a statement when he did not completely rule out the possibility of creating some sort of a demilitarized zone or free economic zone or whatever on Donbass, but he emphasized that only Ukrainian people will be the ones who decided on the referendum. So there is new word in this negotiation vocabulary, referendum, as of now. So maybe the Americans thought that this is some sort of a development, because earlier this week, the White House press secretary Milan Lelich speculated on the very possibility that the U.S. delegation will head towards Berlin. They'll say, we'll see if it makes sense, if there is any development. Since Witkoff will be in Berlin, then the Americans think that there are some developments, some progress is being made. So there is something to discuss. Definitely no one hopes that this will be a final or even one of the most final meetings to end the war. By definition, it may not be so. But this is another step. Will it be big or small, or a step at all? We'll see, because as of now, still, we have some difficulties that are impossible to overcome, or almost impossible to overcome. Number one, number two, and number three difficulty is the territory issue. Obviously, the territory, especially in Donbass, because the Russians they want to have it even without a fight. They want the Ukrainian side to voluntarily cede this territory to them, which definitely will never be the case. And there are no indications in the fighting that Ukrainians, our side, is losing territory rapidly or something. So this is really impossible. The Americans, they try to find a compromise between our position and aggressor's position. So they suggest all this stuff with free economic zones or something. But as of now, no one, again, understands how this economic zone in Slavyansk, Kramatorsk, Konstantinivka, and something will function. Moreover, there is an addition from Ukrainian side. Our president says that, okay, even if we are ready to make such a zone, if even, for example, there is a decision confirmed by the referendum by Ukrainian people that, okay, we are ready to create such a zone, that not only we should step back from the line of contact, but the Russians should step back too. We step back 20 kilometers, they do. We step back 30 kilometers, they do the same. And all this stuff without the armies of both sides will be governed by some, I don't know, international body or something, and there will be no troops there, neither Ukrainian nor Russians. Obviously, this is unacceptable to the Russians. They will also do not want to step back. So this is extremely hard to negotiate, but again, we'll see what happens. Sorry for such a banality. We'll see what happens in Berlin today and tomorrow.
Yeah, and as you said, I think territory will be one of those key, and I think one of the most difficult talking points for sure. I mean, we hear the American side will be there in Berlin, joined by Keir Starmer and Macron then from Monday. But let's talk about that European element for a minute, because, I mean, it's often said, and European leaders are saying, dealing with Russia, it's just between the United States and Russia. There's too much appeasement in a way going on as well. How far, let's say, are the Europeans being listened to at this point? I mean, they're scrambling behind, trying to amend deals, trying to still push and get Trump's ear. Are they really being listened to in this whole process, you think?
Well, generally, as my sources, both in European, among the European diplomats and our top officials say that generally Russia doesn't want to see Europe at the table of negotiations at all. Absolutely, this is like sort of their vision. The U.S., well, they maybe are not very much happy, very happy to see Europeans at the table, but still they understand that this is Ukrainian demand. Ukraine wants Europe at the table, and also one of the potential visions of that. Of the format of signing the conclusive peace deal, or whatever it will be called, ceasefire agreement, I don't know, no one knows, that we should have the United States, Ukraine, Russia, and Europe at the table. And also this week, we had our delegation had a lot of meetings with the Europeans, a lot of consultations. So these amendments to Ukrainian, these amendments to American draft of the peace deal, they are both Ukrainian and European. So European perspective, European view is also included, whereas it does not conflict with Ukrainian. They go along very well. And to ensure this, also our delegation has a lot of talks and meetings in person or by phone with our European colleagues. So as of now, European voice is definitely heard at the table and around the table of negotiations. Russians may not be happy with that. Maybe the Americans are not very happy as well. But
well, I was going to let me jump in there, Milan, because I think the Americans, especially Donald Trump, is not very happy about that. If we look at the last week with the national security strategy, that was very much clear on paper, his views, and then also that quite let's say, scathing interview recently as well, where he basically called European leaders weak. So having that on one side, I'm just wondering how much clout and impact Europe has at all in these negotiations. I mean, it should be there. As you said, Ukraine wants this. It's Europe's neighborhood as well. But it seems that from what we can discern recently from the American perspective, is there really any interest in what Europe wants at this point?
Well, basically, the Europeans have, sort of the ironclad argument here is that according to this strategy that you mentioned and all the previous speculations of Donald Trump and his team about the global security and all this stuff, what happens in Europe is Europe's business. So Ukraine is in Europe, war is happening in Europe, then by definition, the conclusion of this war or any terms of agreements of ceasefire, of peace, or whatever, are definitely Europe's business. So European voice, by definition, should be heard, because if the United States do not want to be that much involved in what's happening in this part of the world, then Europe will take charge of it. So definitely Europe should be at the table of the negotiation. This is absolutely logical. We'll see how it works with Donald Trump and his team, because they are not logical all the time, so to say. But again, as of now, if Witkoff agrees to meet with the Europeans, then European voice is heard. But I think that some clauses, something from Europe will definitely be included in the peace deal, because from what I heard, there is another possible format of signing a final, a conclusive peace deal. Basically, there will be two deals. So the one will be signed between Ukraine, the United States, and Europe. And there will be a second one, bilateral, between the United States and the Russians. So it means that Europe, anyway, will be in this process and in the conclusion of this process, if there is any conclusion soon. But again, there is some stuff inside these draft documents. Some definitions look very vague. For example, what is Europe? Like, who should sign? Is it Ursula von der Leyen or Antonio Costa or the leaders of France, Germany, and Poland, for example, and the UK? UK is not in the European Union, but this is Europe definitely. And the United Kingdom takes a very active part in all the processes. What about Norway, for example, which is not in Europe again, but also is very, very important European country, and so on. So all these details, they have to be negotiated anyway. And it seems that American side, they do not bother very much as of now with all these definitions. This is just like simply Europe, whatever it means. Like Europe should decide. Europe should want this and will have this and will not have that. So what is Europe? Again, what countries exactly will be at the table? We'll see that there is these three nations, France, Germany, and the United Kingdom, both from and out of the European Union, who are more in charge of everything that's going on, which
and I think also on Europe,
logical, but
on what is Europe. I mean, as we said, some of those leaders will be present starting from Monday in Berlin, and we'll see what Europe does have to say about all this. Look, we'll keep following it as ever. Thank you so much, Milan Lelich there. Appreciate your insights.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching World Talks. That concludes this edition, but stay right here on TVP World for more news and commentary. Goodbye.